Hi again. We'll see the next segment of questions. We'll see the next segment of questions. Let me make it full screen. Okay. So, does Java follow any naming conventions? Yes, Java follow some naming conventions. We call them as camel case naming conventions. Generally, in Java, what do we write? We write variables, methods, classes, interfaces, packages, constants. So, um, if you to name classes and interface, you follow upper camel case. Upper camel case means you'll follow all the rules of identifier construction, but every initial letter in that particular word is capital. This is upper camel case. To name methods and variables, you follow lower camel case. It's almost like upper camel case, but the starting one is not capital. Okay. And to name constants, the rule we follow is all constants are always written in uppercase. And for packages we follow lowercase. For packages we follow lowercase. So the naming conventions are upper camel case, lower camel case, uppercase, lowercase. Okay, it's a simple question. We'll go some reserved words. You have to know what is meant by a keyword or reserved. You should be able to give its definition as fast as you can. So these are the words whose meaning is already explained to the compiler, whose meaning is already reserved. Okay, there are a lot of keywords. You should be able to name few. It's possible by everyone to name few because we all write loops, we all write if statements and all, continue, break, all data types, 8 primitive data types. All those will come under reserved words. But the key points you have to remember here are in Java, two keywords, constant and goto. At present, they are not part of language. They are reserved for the future use. So these two are the things. These are reserved for the future use. And three more things: true, false, null. See, these three look like keywords, but these are not keywords. These are constants. True, false are Boolean constants. Okay, so these three are constants. That means literals. Okay, and these are not keywords. They are constants. These should also not be used in the program. What is not used in the program? As keywords have some specified meaning, we should not use them as variables or identifiers in your program. Okay, so what is a keyword? Some keywords. And what about constant and goto? And these three are literals. Keywords and these three should not be used as identifiers. That's the key takeaway from this part. And coming to next segment of questions, what is OOP? That we have already seen. What is a class? How to create a class? What are objects? What are the properties of object? Differentiate class and object. Okay, whatever the question may be, to answer this, you should have some knowledge. It's minimum knowledge on what is a class, how to create a class, so what is the difference between class and object, which is physical and which is logical. That thing you should be able to. Um, So class is a blueprint from which we create objects. Classes are core of the Java. Without class, no Java program exists. Class is a logical construct. Okay. So this is the syntax of writing a class. This is optional access specifier. Generally, we are writing public, protected, all those. No, we have 4 access specifiers. They are default. If you do not put any access specifier, it is considered as a default. Default is nothing but package private. Okay. Inside the class, you can write a number of variables. These are called instance variables, and number of methods. In the variable section also, we have seen variable which is declared outside the methods and inside the class are called instance variables. Okay. If I declare something here, then that is called local variable because it is declared inside a method. Okay. So this is the way we create a class. whatever I put inside a class, they are all called as members of the class. And how to create an object. What is an object? It's a instance of a class. Declaring object is a two-step process. First we have to create object for that class, create a variable for that class. Later we have to allocate a physical copy of that object and assign it to memory. Suppose here you have this. We have seen no 5 different memory parts will be allocated by JVM. Among all those 5, these 2 are the majorly used ones. Test A is equal to new test. So this A is the reference variable. The first step is creating the reference variable. So it will hold the address of the physical object. And this new test, this dynamically allocates the memory for the required object by calling the constructor. This is the call to constructor. By calling constructor, it will physically allocate memory for that particular object, and that memory location will be stored in this. Okay, it's a two-step process: declaration of object, declaring a variable of the class type, and acquire the physical copy of the object and assign it to the variable. So this also we have seen. You can write classes without main. Those classes are referred as object classes. Where object classes are, where do you find object classes? You will find object classes in Java API. Suppose we are all using string class. String class will not have any main method. Okay, so they are found in Java API. Even in your programs also, you'll write lot of object classes. And we know what is OOP. What is a class? Class is a blueprint blueprint which includes all your data. A class contains fields and methods. Okay, and object is a real world entity. How to create an object also we have seen. And the difference between class and object: one is logical and the other one is object. One is a just acts like a blueprint, and the other one is instance of the class. Okay, objects can. And this is next segment of questions. These are all on these are all based on the principles of OOP. Principles of OOP. What is inheritance? What is polymorphism? What is abstraction? What is encapsulation? That kind of stuff. You have to uh, by heart do something, but you should be able to answer these at within a second. Okay, inheritance is nothing but acquiring the properties of one object into another. Okay, and what is encapsulation? Encapsulation, the name itself is conveying, no, it is nothing but wrapping up of data and code into a single unit, putting both data and code in a single unit. Abstraction, what is abstraction? Will hide the implementation details from the user. Will provide only the functionality. Suppose see string dot to lower. You are calling to lower method, but you do not know what is there in the body of the to lower method of string class. That is nothing but abstraction. Um, Polymorphism is the ability of a variable or a function to take multiple forms. We achieve. We can achieve all these features in our Java program. Polymorphism is achieved through method overloading and method overriding. Polymorphism is nothing but a single unit or a single method is taking many forms. A general real world example is if Sridevi is taking a Java class, she is a Java teacher. If she is taking a Python class, then she is a Python teacher. The same teacher is polymorphed into different roles based on the situation. Okay, so only one interface, many implementations. One interface and many implementations. See, nowadays from phone you are able to take pictures, you are able to control your ACs and all, and you are able to listen. That means all the same phone is an audio player, a remote control, and a camera. That is nothing but polymorphism. This polymorphism is of two types. The first one is compile time polymorphism and the other one is runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism. So what version to execute is decided at the compilation time. Then it is compile time polymorphism. It is achieved with the help of method overloading. Okay, runtime polymorphism is achieved through method overriding. Okay. What is abstraction? Abstraction definition we have seen. Abstraction name itself is conveying hiding the implementation details from the user. Where we can if you take up Java, where you are hiding the implementation details, in abstract classes you are writing some functions without bodies, and interface also you are writing functions without bodies. So through abstract classes you can achieve some some percentage of abstraction, and through interfaces you can achieve 100% of abstraction. Okay. Encapsulation, where you put both data and code, you bind both data and code into a single unit. Okay. This data you cannot the data is not accessed from the outside world. To access that data we have to call methods in that class. Okay. And these are set of questions based on constructor. What is a constructor? When does the compiler supply a default constructor for a class? What is the difference between the constructor and a method? Does Java support constructor? See, constructor is a special method written inside a class. Constructor is a special method written inside a class. This special method has the same name of the class, and it is invoked whenever you create an object. What is the role of the constructor? Constructor constructs the object. That means it allocates memory for that particular object, initializes the instance variables of a class. Every class will have some instance variables, no? It will initialize the instance variables. You can write constructors. You can write more number of constructors, one constructor or zero constructors. It's your wish based on the need. So your class can have zero or more constructors. It can be 0, 1 or more. If it has no constructor, then the compiler will supply a default constructor which initializes all instance variables to default values. Suppose if your class has two integers, the default constructor initializes them to 0. Okay. And you can even write a constructor. So constructors can be written in two ways. Constructors can be written in two ways. That means a constructor which takes parameters and the constructor which does not take parameters. Empty argument list. If the constructor has empty argument list, we generally call it as a default constructor. Others are parameterized constructors. Based on your need, you can write in the way you have. I'll show you a sample program to show you the constructors. See, the class name is box, and here this is one constructor. So, with the same name of the class, we have written a method, and it is taking an object. The object's state is assigned to this state, and this is one more constructor which is taking three arguments, and parameterized constructor, three arguments. Those three it is passing to the instance variables. And see, this is non-parameterized. I can call it as a default constructor. Some body is there, and this is taking only single argument, and it is assigning the single argument. So this box class has four constructors. I can write more number of constructors in a class. This is nothing but constructor overloading. Okay. If you take up a constructor, we will not specify any return type, not even void. Just directly we'll write the method name. The method name is nothing but the class name and argument list, optional argument list. Okay. Does constructor return any value? Even though we are not specifying any return type, what's the job of the constructor? It constructs the object. So the constructed object, the current instance of the class is implicitly returned. If you are calling box b1 is equal to new box, that constructor creates an object and it implicitly returns that instance. That instance is assigned to box b1 b. Okay. So does constructor return any value means you have to say yes. You can also say that even though there is no specific return type, it implicitly returns the current instance. Okay. Is constructor inherited? In the definition of inheritance, we have seen that acquiring the properties of one object into another. Okay, acquiring the properties of one object into another. But coming to constructor, it is not a member of a class. It is not a member of a class. Its job is to construct the object. So only members get inherited. Constructors are not inherited. You need to remember this. Constructors are not inherited by its subclass. Okay. If you want to invoke constructors, then you have to use a super keyword and you invoke the parent class constructor. Can you make a constructor as final? Final is a keyword. Uh, it's almost says that it is my final decision. There, no one can alter it. In that way, whenever you use final, it's the final thing. We cannot change it. We'll see far more about final in the next questions. But we cannot make a constructor as final. Okay, you can't make a constructor as a final constructor. Final method. You should not write it as final method. The next question is, can we overload the constructor? Just now we have seen in the class box, we have written 4 constructors. That means the number of arguments or the data type of the arguments have varied. So it is possible to overload the constructors. Okay. And how to create a singleton class? What is singleton class? This is a question I have seen in many websites. If you, by default, constructors are not private. If you make constructor private, then that class becomes a singleton. Okay, why we should not make constructor as private? Constructors have to be called whenever an object is instantiated. Objects are instantiated from the outside world. So outside world cannot access private members of a class. So we will not make constructors as private. If you write a constructor as private, then it will become a singleton class. Okay, only one instance can be created at any given time for the singleton class. Okay, and this is one more question I have seen in the listings. Differentiate methods and constructors. Why specifically they will ask this question? Constructor is also looks like a method, and but constructor is different from methods. Okay, what's the job of constructor? It is used to initialize the instance variables. Instance variables is nothing but state of an object. Used to initialize the instance variables. But methods, they'll define some behavior. If you take student class, write exam, or if you take dice class, what is the face value? Some behavior of that particular class, they'll represent a behavior. Okay, methods will definitely have return type. Without return type, we'll not write a method. Okay, at least we'll have to specify void. Constructors will not have any return type. Methods will return some value explicitly, and constructors return the thing implicitly. The instance created is returned implicitly. Okay, if you write method x, that exists. If you do not write method x, that does not exist. No default implementation is provided. For constructors, a default constructor is provided by the compiler. Every class has one. But if you write a constructor, then compiler will not supply any default constructor. Okay. Constructor name must always be same as that of the class name. And this is one more picture I got from some website. You can go through it. The same differences. Okay. So what is constructor overloading? Can you achieve that? That part is here. So this is about a constructor about constructors. What is a constructor? Can we overload a constructor? Differentiate between a constructor and method. Can constructors? Is it possible to inherit the constructors? Is a constructor return any value? Can you make a constructor as a final in that way? Okay. And next segment is garbage collection. What is meant by garbage collection? See, if you create one object, string s is equal to hello, then what happens? S is created in stack, and this physical object hello is created in heap. If I write string s2 is equal to s, then what happens? S2 also points to the same. Okay, sorry. If I write S is equal to null, then this will no more point to hello. Okay, that means no reference variable is pointing to this physical object hello. This physical object is unreferenced object. These unreferenced object in the heap area are referred as garbage. Okay, so if more number of unreferenced objects placed in heap, then you'll get memory problems, memory out of error you'll get. Garbage collection is nothing but collecting these unreferenced objects. Garbage collection is the process of reclaiming the unused runtime objects. And who will do this garbage collection? Garbage collection is done by the JVM. In JVM, there is a background process called garbage collection. This background process is referred as a daemon thread. It will do the garbage collection. Okay. So who controls the sorry, who controls the garbage collection? Garbage collection is managed by JVM. Periodically, it will run the garbage collection process on the heap, and it will remove all the unreferenced objects. Okay. It is found when there is not enough space. At some places, people have written in this ways. When you do not have enough space in the RAM, the heap area, then it will perform. And somewhere I read that periodically also JVM runs. Periodically also JVM runs the garbage collector. Okay. And even though JVM will do the garbage collection, as a coder, we also can externally do the garbage collection with the help of GC method, system.gc method. By calling this method, you can do some, you can do garbage collection. Okay. So So, what kind of thread is the garbage collector thread? Java is a multi-threaded programming language. Even though our program starts from the main thread, they run some background threads. Okay, the background thread is nothing but daemon thread. Daemon threads are background threads which will do some jobs like garbage collection and all. So the thread which takes care of garbage collection is a daemon thread. Okay. And see, whenever we create an object, we may open some database connections or network sockets or open some files. Okay. Before destroying that object, that means before completely removing that object, we have to properly close those handles. Clear? So to do some cleanup activities before garbage collection, um, a method called finalize has to be overridden. Okay, finalize method exists in object class. We have to write it again, override again in our class. It is used to do some cleanup activities. It will be executed prior to garbage collection. It will be executed prior to garbage collection. Okay. uh, when I have seen this, I have shown the set of questions about constructor. There is a question called do we have destructors in Java language? But I have not discussed anything about that there. See, C++ has a destructor. Destructor is executed whenever the object goes out of memory. But here in Java, we do not have any destructors. JVM only will take care about the object destroying. Okay, we don't have any destructors in Java. That point I have not discussed that. So it's completely about static variables. We'll see about static first, and then we'll discuss these. See, static is a very special keyword. You have to know about static to answer some of the questions. Okay, static is a non-access modifier. At many places people write this is an access modifier and this is non-access modifier. See, in Java we have four access modifiers: public, private, protected and default, and rest are all non-access modifiers. Okay, and with the help of static we can write four things: static variable, static method, static class and static block. Okay, static variable, static method, static class and static blocks. We majorly write these two. Okay, all classes can't be static. This thing you have to write down, note down. Only the inner classes, that means the class which is written inside another class, a nested class, can be made static. Outer class can never be made classic. See, it is possible to write one class inside another class in Java. Okay, this class can't be static. You can make this class as static. That is possible. Okay, outer classes can never be static. Inner classes can be static. And here you can write variables, you can write methods. They can be static or they can be non-static. Okay, and you can create some blocks. See, whatever you write inside this pair of curly braces is a block. No, this if you precede that block with the keyword static, then that becomes a static block. Okay, so it's a non-access modifier which is applicable for blocks, variables, methods and classes. Okay, you have to just precede those things with the keyword static to make them static things. Static block, you might have not written or just read about it, but see, if you have some static variables and you want to initialize them, you will perform them in either constructor or static blocks. Okay, if your class has a static block, it is executed only once when the class is loaded into memory. Okay, just remember this: it is executed only once whenever the class is loaded into memory. It is executed before constructors. Okay, static blocks are executed before constructors, generally to initialize the static variables or some constants. Will use static blocks. Okay, whenever a class is loaded into memory, if you want to do something, then that those things will be written inside the static blocks. Okay, see, you have written a class and you have created 100 objects for it. 100 times constructor gets executed, but static block is executed only once whenever you create the first object. Okay, even before the first object's constructor's execution, static block is executed. And static method, if a method signature is preceded by the keyword static, then it is called static method. Okay, main method is static. Why we go for static methods means, see, if you want to, static always refers per class, not per object. If you want to invoke a method before creating object for that class, then you will go for static. Okay, that is the reason uh, we have used static before main method. Okay, inside the static method there are many rules to remember here. If a method is static, you can call only static method. Suppose if you have a static method x, from that method you can call another static methods. You cannot call non-static methods from that, and you can access only static data. Static can access only static data. Okay, and the special references this and super, they cannot refer. Okay, so how to invoke a static method? If it is a general instance method, object name dot method name. As it is a static method, class name dot method name. You can also invoke with object name dot method name. Okay, and these things you have to need. Class method is nothing but static method. Okay, if a method is preceded by method or variable is preceded by the keyword static, it becomes class variable or class method. From the class method you can access only class variables or class methods. From an instance method, you can access instance variables, instance methods, class variables, and class methods. All. From an instance method, you can access all, but from a static method, you can access only static variables and static methods. Okay. See, if a class is written inside another class, then it is called a nested class. And there is a special thing called nested class and inner class. Okay. If your inner class is static, then it is called nested class. If your inner class is non-static, then it is called inner class. Okay. You have class A, and inside that you have class B. This class B is called inner class because it is non-static. If you have one more class, static class C, then it is nested class. This is inner class, it is nested class. Okay. So non-static nested class is inner class. Static nested class is simply called as nested class. Okay. It's all about static. We'll see what's there in the discussion. Difference between static method and non-static method. The main thing you need to remember here is static refers per class. Okay. The keyword is used before the method signature they are saying, and from a static method you can access only static variables and static methods. From non-static you can access all. Okay. That is one thing. What is the purpose? uh, what is the purpose? Why we declare few things as static means these variables are shared among objects. They are shared among per objects. If you take up instance variables, they are per instance. Every object will have its own copy of instance variables. If all objects have to share some variable, then we'll declare them as static. Okay. Static is part of the class, not the object, but the main point you have to say here is they are shared among the objects of a class. Okay. And there is some use case here. Suppose you all have your name and register number. Your name and register number is specific to you, and some other person's name and register number is specific to him. But coming to college name of both of you, there is no need of an extra variable for every object. Okay, we'll create a common object in which we'll store our college name. Every object shares that common variable. Okay. Restrictions applied to Java static method, we have seen that. Why main method static also have declared in the first session. Can we override the static method? Okay. Hope you are good at overloading and overriding. Overriding means writing the same method in both superclass and subclass. Okay. If a method is static, you cannot override it. I have a method, static method X in superclass. I cannot write method X inside subclass. Okay. What is a static block? Also, we have seen why static block is used to initialize the final variables. That means constants and some instance static variables. It is executed whenever the class is loaded. It is executed only once. It is executed before constructor. Okay, those points you have to remember about static block. Okay, differences between static method and instance method, we have seen that too in the slides. Okay. Can we make constructors as static? Okay. It's a meaningless question. Generally you have to think what is the job of constructor. What is the job of constructor? Constructor constructs an object. That means it has some relation with the object. And coming to static, what is basic thing about static? Static is per class. Okay, not per object. So when constructors are dealing with object, how can we make constructor as static? Okay, so the question is no. Is it no here? I have not written any. So if you try to do so, the compiler will show the compiler error. Okay, just understand constructor is concerned with objects. Static is not concerned with objects. It's common to objects. So I cannot make static things, constructors as static. Okay. So the next question is why string is immutable in Java? Okay. What is meant by immutability? Once created, we cannot alter it. Okay. There are several reasons for making string as an immutable thing. uh, because for many functions we pass strings. Okay. String objected, we pass strings. For that reason, we strings are immutable. Okay. What is meant by immutability, you have to understand. And the other point is string letters are generally strings are stored in an area called string pool. Okay. And they can, you can share them between a lot of methods. As they to save from threats, it should be it should be like we can't alter it to keep it secure. So in that way you can even increase its security. Okay. And you can achieve synchronization performance. You have three classes related to strings: string, string builder, and string buffer. Whose performance is better? If anyone asks you, strings are very good because of its immutable nature. Okay. We can achieve what is that, we can achieve security with this. And the location it is stored is also referred as string pool. Okay. And next question is a method called equals and operator equal to. Both are different. First one is method and the second one is operator. Okay. Equals operator. Both of them job is to compare for equality, but their functionality is a little different. Equals method, what it will check, it will check for the equality of the objects. That means what is the content of the object. In that way, equal to will check the hash codes, that memory, what is the memory location, those things, not the content. Okay. See, this is the one I have referred. Difference between string, string builder, and string buffer. Strings are stored in an area called string pool. String builder and string buffer, they are stored in like normal objects in the heap area. Only strings are immutable. If you need mutable versions of strings, then we'll go for string builder or string buffer. Okay. And performance of strings is more faster. The main things you need to remember is strings are immutable, remaining two are mutable. Strings are stored in string pool area and remaining two are in heap area. And strings are very good at its performance. Okay. And what is the purpose of toString method? You might have written lot of toString methods in your object classes. Object classes like student class, rectangle class, shape class, circle class, all those. Okay. What's the job of toString method? Generally, if we have an integer int a, system.out.println a, that means it will print the value of a. If I have an object, student s1 is equal to new student, system.out.println s1, then it will print the hash code. That means the reference value. It's not printing what is the name of the student, what is the roll number of the student. It's not printing the description of that particular object. See, if you want to print the description of a particular object, you have to write the toString method. Okay. ToString is already implemented in the object class, which returns the hash code. Okay. And if you want to write your own definition, you have to override it. See, I'm using the word override because toString method is already present in object class. You are redefining it in your class. So it's nothing but overriding the existing definition. Anyways, toString method is used to get the string representation of a class. Suppose if you have a string class, you can construct a string like this: student name is equal to Sai, and here she's studying 8th class. In that way, you can create a string and return from that toString method. Okay. ToString job is to return the string representation of an object. Okay. It is overridden in your object class. Its actual implementation is present in a class called object class. Who is object class? It's the topmost class in the class hierarchy. Object class is the superclass of all the classes. Object class is present in java.lang package. Okay, so why we use toString method? That's all for this video. From the next question onwards, I'll discuss in the next video.